I love handheld gaming PCs. I can play all my favorite PC games in the palms of my hands on a big, beautiful screen. This is freaking awesome.
Thanks, TechDweeb. You're awesome too.
Ah! What the... Hello, hi, how you doing? I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today.
I didn't click on anything.
Oh my god, I wasn't talking to you. I told you not to say anything yet. I'm filming the intro.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, I'll make sure to edit this part out. Now shut up. Hello there, I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. There is a jungle of portable handheld gaming PCs. It seems like every 5 minutes there's a new Iron Neo, or Iron Loki, or ROG Ally, or GPD, whatever little mini handheld gaming PC released. But each device that gets released has to live in the shadow of the Steam Deck. The deck set the bar for price to performance, so it's hard for any new device to compete with that aspect of the market. So I mean, if you're looking for a cheap device to play PC games, then yeah, the Steam Deck is going to take the win, no question. But that doesn't mean that there's not a place for bigger, more feature-rich, more powerful devices. Because while the Steam Deck is amazing at $400, it's not as much of a luxurious experience as lots of the higher-end things out there. Like this thing, the AOKZOE A1.
You think I'm luxurious?
Yeah, I really do. I think there's a lot about playing games on this that makes it a very compelling choice for gamers looking for a high-end portable gaming PC experience. And I'm excited to show it to you and tell you why.
Wow, thanks, TechDweeb. So can we play some games now?
No AOKZOE A1, not yet, but soon.
Okay.
The AOKZOE A1 has a lot going for it. And by a lot, I mean one thing. But that one thing is a big thing.
A big thing, huh?
Oh my god. I'm talking about the screen. The screen is big, and that makes this a really enjoyable handheld to game on, especially if you like to, you know, see your games. And with very few shortcomings, I think this should be a real contender if you're thinking about getting a device at this price point. Speaking of which, this AOKZOE A1 was sent to me by the fine folks over at GOGAMEGEEK. They sell this, so if you want one, you should go buy it from them. I'll include a link to their product page in the description below. It costs $780, but you can get 3% off right now on the GOGAMEGEEK website. It's not as cheap as an ROG Ally or the top-end Steam Deck, but watch this video to the end before you write it off, because I think for lots of people, this will be a better choice than both of those options. But before we get too far into this review, let's quickly check out the specs. It has a Ryzen 7 6800U processor, which features Zen 3 Plus architecture with integrated Radeon 680M RDNA 2 graphics. My model has 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM and a 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD. The battery is 65 watt hours. And for the power profiles, we're looking at anywhere from 4 to 28 watts of TDP budget.
I don't know what any of that means.
Well, that's a you problem, I think. As for the look of the thing, well, it's certainly unique looking. The shell is a very, very dark purple. It's almost black, and it has some yellow accents on the buttons. It also has two kinda RGB triangle shapes on the sides. I like the general vibe of the thing, but one thing I hate is these gamer graphics on the plastic. And look at this vent grill on the back. And they wrote hardcore gamers on the side of the screen. Like, why? I hate this cheesy gamer style crap. Can we just make devices that look like they were made for adults, please? It's a bit of a thicker device, which means it's not super portable. Should we do a pocket test?
No, don't put me in there. No.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. But even still, it actually does fit nicely in my Steam Deck case. And the bigger size and the grips make it a lot more comfortable to hold. I actually love the way it feels.
I like the way you feel too.
Okay then. On the top, we have a power button, volume buttons, a headphone jack, and one USB-C hole for charging and data, and one USB-A hole, which I really like to see.
Wait, what?
And underneath, we have one USB-C hole, which means that this would work well in a dock. And we have our micro SD card slot. I added a 1 terabyte micro SD card to mine. For the controls, we have some fairly small but comfortable thumbsticks that work great. The triggers are very high quality, very accurate, good travel. The face buttons are large and rather flat and shallow and quiet, which I do like. And we get some other useful buttons like a show desktop button and buttons to open an on-screen keyboard and enable a joystick mouse, and also the AOKZOE A1 control panel button. But the D-pad. We have a floating circular D-pad. I know lots of people don't like this style of D-pad, but I don't mind them. I can vouch that this one is particularly good. Overall, the controls are awesome. I've done extensive testing on this and I found zero issues with anything. We need to talk about the screen because this is a very important aspect of this device. The screen is huge. This is an 8-inch screen, 60 Hz with a resolution of 1920 by 1200. It is a great screen. It's crisp and clear with bright saturated colors. Compared to the 7-inch devices I've tested, I can say that that extra inch makes a world of difference.
That's what she said.
No, we're not making that joke. You can see so much stuff on this huge screen. If you typically find screens on handhelds too small, or if you're old and have bad eyesight, or if you want a big beautiful screen to look at just for the immersive visuals, then this is definitely going to be a great choice. And the speakers are really good. So the moment that you catch yourself getting distracted, just take the fork and jab it into your arm. They're crisp and clear, and they really complete the whole audio-visual experience that we get on this thing. As for the system, well, there's not a lot to talk about here, which is a good thing, actually. There's very little nonsense to deal with.
No nonsense, huh? What about this?
Are we still doing this? The whole talking device bit? Yeah? Okay. The Windows 11 install is very basic. No bloatware, no pre-installed proprietary software except for the AOKZOE control panel, which you can open by pushing this little button. And in here is a few important options. We have the ability to change the clock speeds, fan speed, and TDP, which can be set anywhere from 4 watts all the way up to 28 watts. You can also adjust the vibration intensity. And you can change the Windows resolution with a button on here, and there's an area to change the RGB mode. You can set it to a static color or some color presets. You can't turn it off though, which is dumb. And you can change the screen brightness and the volume. Overall, the software experience has been very stable. I haven't really had any crashes or like resolution changing glitches or annoying pop-ups or any issues really. This might be the most hassle-free Windows handheld experience I've ever had, to be honest. Lucky me. My favorite aspect of testing devices is the performance. I love seeing what sort of performance we could squeeze out at different resolutions and settings and TDP budgets, but at the same time, it's also my least favorite aspect when it comes to reviewing devices. And that's because it's my job to give simple answers. And there are no simple answers with these things. With the different options for game settings and resolution and upscaling and TDP setting. So what I think makes the most sense for me to do is a deep dive look at one game to show you how it performs at the various settings, and then I'll just test out a whole bunch of games and show you the settings that I would personally play at. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
I wasn't asking you, I was asking the audience. So, how does that sound?
They're not gonna hit.
Shut up. Here we are in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which should give us an idea of how the average modern game will perform. When you crank the TDP up to the max, 28 watts, we could run this game at the native resolution of 1280p, low settings, and we got 38 FPS on average. We reached a max APU temperature of 75 degrees Celsius, and the fan does pick up at this heat. But then, this was a nice surprise. I went down to 15 watts, and the performance did go down, but not by a crazy amount. We averaged 31 FPS, and we only reached a temperature of 61 degrees Celsius. And at that temperature, the fan wasn't nearly as loud. And then I wanted to see how low we could go and still get playable performance. I lowered the resolution scale down to about 50%, which is around 850p, and I was able to get this playable at 10 watts. I got 29 FPS on average. You could get away with playing like this, and considering that we're at 10 watts and we're playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, that's pretty cool. And speaking of cool, our temperature was down to 50 degrees Celsius, and at this temperature the fan is super quiet. We'll get a ton of extra battery life at this wattage too. So with the boring stuff out of the way, let's get on to some gaming tests, shall we?
Aw, yeah, let's freaking do this thing!
I like your enthusiasm. So for all the games that you'll see in this section, I decided to stick with a 18 watt TDP because that's the sweet spot that I found. Any less and you sacrifice a lot of performance, any more and you don't really gain that much more performance. At this wattage, the 6800U APU should beat out both the deck and the Ally. If you want more FPS or you want higher settings, then you'll have to raise the TDP and deal with more noise and heat and battery drain. But at these settings, I think it still looks and plays amazing on the AOKZOE A1. You could crank up the TDP and be able to up the settings and resolution or get a higher FPS, obviously. But I think on a handheld, considering that sacrifices do have to be made, I don't mind lower settings and lower FPSs. As long as I'm getting over 30 FPS in most games and the games look good, then I'd rather play like that and get a nice long battery and have the device run cool and quiet. In most games, we had to make use of FSR upscaling, but not always. Red Dead 2 ran at 1280p native, and it looks crazy good on this screen. Yeah, I think that this is the perfect middle ground, and this is how I would personally play these games. This is how I'm planning on using this thing. All of these games that I tested are pretty darn demanding and pretty darn beautiful. So being able to play these games like this on a handheld at a modest TDP was an amazing experience. You know, I love the deck and the Ally, but playing on the A1 is much more comfortable with the way that I like to game.
You kinda suck at games, you know that?
Yeah, I know. And one unique thing that we have on the AOKZOE A1 is the ability to go down very low on the TDP. We can go down to 4 watts. So I wanted to see if easy to run games would actually run at 4 watts. And I was pleasantly surprised. I tried Bot Vice, Dead Cells, and Stardew Valley, and they all ran great. I could tell Dead Cells had a few drop frames and Stardew had a few hiccups, but not much. These are running like 99% perfectly. That's awesome. And at 4 watts, you'll get an amazing battery life and the device is so cool and quiet you'll barely know it's on. And again, I keep coming back to the screen. These games really look amazing on an 8-inch screen. I think I'm going to be playing lots of lower spec indie games on this thing, even though it can handle the higher end stuff.
This game is so cute. I can just play this for hours.
Well, no you can't because we gotta finish the video. And if you're wondering about emulation, well, you're gonna have to wonder for a little bit longer because I'm going to do a separate emulation video. I was given this Retro Beast Micro 1TB emulation card from Chris Coolbot. It's pre-set up with the emulation front end and all the emulators and a ton of games, and it works with any handheld gaming PC. And I want to do a dedicated video about that. So I'm gonna show you the emulation performance of the AOKZOE A1 at the same time. So sit tight and get subscribed if you're not yet, so you don't miss that.
Are you seriously gonna make me wait to play Burger Time?
Good things come to those who wait, A1.
That's bullshit.
So, what do I think of the AOKZOE A1, and do I recommend it? In my opinion, considering what you get here, $750 for this thing feels like a very fair price. The ROG Ally is $600, and it performs better than the 6800U devices at higher wattages. But the A1 outperforms the Ally at a medium wattage, which is what I game at. And the A1 has this huge screen. I can't understate what a difference it is playing on an 8-inch screen versus a 7-inch screen. The Ally and the deck spec are both amazing, but they're different devices. I feel like the A1 will be a better choice for lots of people. And I feel like maybe I'm one of those people. I love the giant screen and the 15-watt performance. That's what I'd prioritize over maximizing FPS or getting the absolute cheapest device possible. But that's the best part about this hobby. There's so many choices that there's something for everyone out there. I will include a link to where you can buy it from GOGAMEGEEK in the description below. So I'm going to give the AOKZOE A1 12.5 root beers out of 15, and I'll toss in a jar of A1 sauce for the AOKZOE A1 because it deserves it.
I don't eat sauce. I'm an electronic device.
Oh, yeah, well, it's not real. It's a metaphorical jar of sauce.
I don't eat those either.
And that brings us to the end. I hope you found this useful or at least entertaining. If you enjoyed this video, then maybe check out my Steam Deck review. If you haven't seen that one yet, there's a link on the screen and at the top of the description below. And you can watch it right now because we're done.
That's it for me. I'm not TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.